we sat together. Actually, we weren't really planning on submitting for this competition, because we thought, just first sight, we said, this is really difficult. And we sat together at the table, the four of us, there's four of us, the partners at the office, and let's try and talk this through. If there's an idea that we feel comfortable with, then we submit, otherwise we won't. We started, and no precedent, it's just, how can you say that, what you do has never ever been done before in any way or shape or form. It's like actually our work is like the opposite. We every time we do a new project, we're talking about these precedents. We're talking about things that might help us solving an architectural problem that might not come from architecture itself. And we're always trying to understand these other, let's say, precedents that you find in landscape or in art and then we always try to almost like understand the logic upon which that particular thing is working, and then almost like transport it into a problem, a similar problem, but then in terms of architecture, we would just do something completely different. And I think when we sat together, we thought, well, that's what we do, and maybe that's just a way of saying that it has no precedence, because in the moment you take something from your everyday life, and it's not like really complicated, we're not trying to, understand, a huge equation of, how a tree would grow or something like that. It's just like every simple thing, that you come across in your everyday life has a potential to give you the tools for an architectural problem. So for each project, then somehow you find something from elsewhere that you could almost like take the essence of that and then just change it into architecture, and that would, it would come out something that for us, it's new in those terms. The theme of no precedence, we talked about. We really wanted to make sure that the installation would reinforce that idea of going and then looking for a precedent that somehow works outside architecture, and we import that logic from there into architecture. So it's our piece is just a giant piece of origami. For us was really saying like, well, there should be a precedent that it's really obvious, and origami was really important for us because it was developed more than 1,000 years ago. So it was like, it's not from yesterday, it's not the newest thing, we can find, it's not the newest material. And in that sense, we decided we should stick to that logic. So we are not going to use computer, we're not going to use CNC, we're not going to use Rhino or Maya or to get the shapes and to get to go and almost like plug this into a machine, and not that it's wrong, we have nothing against that, but in this particular case we wanted to go almost like to the extreme. So we decided to do some sort of like an interface between the gallery, the place where you can see all the other teams, let's say all the other offices work, and we said let's gonna do a room inside a room where you could just like a little bit like forget, for a while what's going on outside, and then just have time and distraction-free, environment, so that you can probably read a couple of things about the office. The installation is basically paper; it's cardboard, just fold it. And since we had to do a leaflet, then you can fold the leaflet, and there's instructions, so you can have your very own little installation there to take home.
Everybody's somehow familiar with the origami, so it shows you how to do this thing with two basic ideas. Let's say one, that you can take this thing with you and take like a little part of the installation with you, but also to stress the fact that we're not, let's say, either discovering or stealing anything. We just apply this thing, and then we're just kind of sharing, like in an open source logic again. This thing, like you can do it, everybody can do it. That's the idea of behind the brochure, the flyer. And it also talks about this the scale of things. So you also have this huge, let's say, surface in the gallery, and then you can also reproduce it in another scale. And maybe people could fold it at their places and find like new uses for that object. I don't know, put the M&Ms or whatever they can use it for. Like, no, but the changing of the scale also changes the possibilities of the object. Let's say we said we were trying to move away from the idea of the object, but of the system, if you want. So the material logic talks about let's say the philosophy of our office. What we are doing is actually something that tries to make agreements between what is contained and the context. So there's always this, Emmanuel was saying before, interface, I don't know what's the word, but there's always this passing of information from one side to the other, and the material has a lot to do with that. So the material somehow is what is driving the process of design. So it's not like form finding, it's more like understanding the material. And then once we decide the material, then we start thinking about how we can articulate these materials somehow to get what we are asked to get or what we want to get. In the Eco Pavilion, for example, the actual parameter was the budget. We had a certain amount of money. We needed to create some shades and stuff. So we had to think about a material that was accessible for us with the money they gave us. And so we thought of strings. That was a material that could generate planes, cover a big space with very little money.
And I think some of the projects were really happy with the solution because it's really surprising and it's really obvious. When you have chains for this pavilion, for instance, they've told us, why did you use chains? And we said, well, because we needed the rope to be exactly at the same distance, to bend exactly at the same point and divided by I don't know how many, 200, and just the chain would give us exactly the dimension. We didn't have to measure anything. We said, okay, one ring we go we pass a string, the other one we don't, and so it's just really obvious, and it at the end it should look very natural. Yeah, no, we didn't know how to, we had this idea of the strings, and then you have 200 strings like in a model like this, really tiny model. So they went to look for like fake jewelry at the office, so they would have these chains, and then that was a clever idea for the model, and then the model worked perfectly. And we said, well, let's not try and find another solution for the real one. Let's just do it let's just do a chain. Of course, it takes a lot of. I wish it was so simple as just saying, of course, a chain.